Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pan-African University students, for that beautiful rendition of the African Union Anthem. Please, may we be seated. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Buea, Professor Ngomo Horace Manga, Deputy Vice Chancellors, the Registrar, Deans and Directors, distinguished professors, ladies and gentlemen, the program for the celebration of activities to launch the Ruby Jubilee of ASTI will begin with a word of welcome by the director of ASTI, and then we will have a documentary on ASTI, documentary that shows us how ASTI has evolved for the last 40 years and some of its achievements and its contributions to the national and international development. We are going to have a word from Clare Donovan, an emeritus professor from Paris, Sorbonne. We will have a word from Richard Diom, a pioneer student of ASTI. We will have a word from Paule Kekeh, who is coming from the European Union Commission. And then we will have the 40th anniversary anthem that has been composed by the ASTI choir. After that anthem, we'll have the opening speech of the Vice Chancellor. The Vice Chancellor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this two-day program of this launch ceremony will be coordinated for us by a lady and a gentleman from ASTI or lecturers. So I want to invite Dr. Aita Newom and Dr. Deris May, who are going to coordinate the activities for us. Please put your hands together for them as they come up.
The Vice Chancellor, all Deputy Vice Chancellors, the Registrar, Director of ASTI, all Deans and Directors of various faculties and institutions, all distinguished professors, distinguished guests and students, you're all welcome to this launch of the 40th anniversary celebration of ASTI. And we are going to kickstart right away as the program has been announced without much ado. So we'll have a word right away of the director of ASTI, Professor Sakwe George Botake. Please put your hands together for him.
A welcome address by the Director of the Advanced School of Translators and Interpreters, ASTI, of the University of Buea, at the launching ceremony of the Ruby Jubilee of the school on the 9th of May, 2025. The Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, the Registrar, respected Deans and Directors, esteemed faculty, dedicated staff, cherished students, esteemed alumni and valued partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is with immense joy and heartfelt enthusiasm that I welcome every one of you to this momentous occasion, the Ruby Jubilee of the Advanced School of Translators and Interpreters, ASTI. Today, we are not just marking 40 years of excellence in it, we are celebrating a vibrant tapestry of cultures and ideas that unite us all. As we gather on this special day, we are thrilled to align our celebrations with the annual Cultural Diversity Day. It serves as a powerful reminder of the beauty that comes from our differences and the strength we derive from our shared experiences. Together, we create a dynamic community that transcends boundaries and fosters understanding. This year, as we celebrate the Ruby Jubilee, we also embrace an essential theme, embracing challenges in the era of artificial intelligence. This milestone not only honors our past achievements, but also encourages us to navigate the complexities and opportunities that AI presents in today's world. Let us reflect on our journey while looking forward to how we can innovate and adapt in this evolving landscape. In this rapidly evolving landscape, we acknowledge the transformative impact of AI on the fields of translation and interpretation. Rather than viewing AI solely as a challenge, we see it as an opportunity for innovation, collaboration, and adaptation. Let's come together to celebrate our achievements, embrace our diverse backgrounds, and look forward to a future filled with promise and possibility. Join me in making this celebration unforgettable. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ruby Jubilee is more than a mere milestone. It is a vibrant celebration of an extraordinary journey. This occasion reflects the very essence of our institution, symbolizing years of steadfast dedication and significant achievements in the dynamic realms of translation and interpretation. It stands as a testament to our evolution, a narrative intertwined with ambition, cultural exchange, and unwavering commitment to academic excellence. Since our establishment was created in August 1985, with an initial cohort of just 13 pioneering students, we have evolved into a significant force in the realm of education and professional development, making a lasting impact on the educational landscape. The eminent philosopher and educator awareness have profoundly influenced a diverse array of sectors, including mental organizations and private enterprises. We must also pay tribute to our predecessors, whose vision and hard work have laid the foundation of our current success. We honor the directors of ASTI who have guided us through the years. Dr. Fidelis Mofo, 1985 to 1988. Professor Emmanuel Chia, 1990-1993. Professor Etienne Zeamvela, 1993-1999. Dr. Charles Nama, 1999-2006. Professor Emmanuel Chia, 2006-2009. Professor Su Joseph Che, 2009-2017. Dr. Ndefo Alexander Tene, 2017-2020. And of course, currently Professor Sakwe George, 2020 till date. Their tireless efforts and unwavering dedication have made it possible for ASTI to flourish into a respected institution renowned for its academic prowess. Additionally, we recognize our faculty and staff whose commitment has been pivotal in nurturing the talents of our students. As Maya Angelou aptly stated, that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. You never forget how you made them feel. Our faculty has transcended the traditional role of educators. They have instilled confidence, passion, and a sense of purpose in our students, preparing them to navigate an increasingly complex landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, the significance of interpretation in our world today cannot be emphasized. In the contemporary era, characterized by globalization and the rise of artificial intelligence, the significance of translation and interpretation cannot be overstated. Language functions as a crucial conduit that facilitates the exchange of diverse cultures, ideas, and perspectives. As noted by the linguist Edward Sapir, language is a guide to social reality, a statement that underscores the profound impact language has on our understanding of the world. And ASTI will fully embrace this notion, recognizing that our mandate transcends mere language instruction. We are dedicated to promoting cross-cultural understanding and fostering professional development, ensuring our students emerge not only as proficient linguists, but also as informed global citizens. In our exploration of the nuanced complexities of translation and interpretation, we recognize the capacity of language to serve as a medium for empathy and social transformation. Nelson Mandela incisively stated, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart. Consequently, our commitment to the pedagogy of translation and interpretation assumes an ethical dimension, one that encourages meaningful dialogue and nurtures connections across cultural divides. With the emergence of AI, artificial intelligence, we find ourselves at a crossroads. While artificial intelligence offers tools that enhance efficiency and accessibility, our dedication to human nuance, empathy, and cultural understanding will set us apart. Together, let us embrace these challenges and leverage technology to strengthen our mission rather than replace it. The current festivities serve not only as a commemoration of our past, but also as a platform to reflect on the future. As we celebrate 40 years of ASTI, let us commit to embracing the challenges of the era of artificial intelligence. By doing so, we will continue to inspire and empower future generations of translators and interpreters, ensuring that our work remains relevant and impactful in an ever-changing world. Join me in celebrating our collective achievements, embracing the future, and fostering a community that not only recognizes it, but thrives in diversity, innovation, and collaboration. Cheers to a new era at ASTI. We are now looking ahead. As we envision the future, I am filled with optimism and enthusiasm regarding the trajectory of ASTI. Our vision embodies a commitment to continuous evolution, response, and so forth. Within the professional landscape, we are prepared to roll out new programs and initiatives that would enhance our dedication to educational excellence, thereby securing our position at the forefront of training in translation and interpretation. In this spirit, we extend an invitation to each of you, our valued stakeholders, to collaborate with us in magnifying the impact of our institute or institution. Together, we can explore innovative approaches to curriculum development and integrate emerging technologies and adapt to the dynamic global environment. As the esteemed educator Paule Kekeh eloquently stated, education does not change the world. Education changes people, and people change the world. Let us embrace our roles as agents of change. The progress we celebrate today would have been unattainable without the unwavering support of our sponsors, partners, and advocates, including PAMCIT, including ESIT, the Confucius Institute, Pan-African University, the Francophonie, and the European Union, among others. Your contributions have been instrumental in our shared journey, providing the essential resources and encouragement necessary for our lasting growth. I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to the organizing committee and everyone involved in making today's celebration a remarkable occurrence. I want to appreciate the efforts of the ASTI Students Association. Thank you all for joining us in commemorating this momentous milestone. As we approach this significant moment of celebration, I will invite you all to join me in honoring our distinguished history and the promising future ahead for the Advanced School of Translators and Interpreters. Together, let us continue to champion quality and academic excellence for the next generation of our translators and interpreters. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so very much, Professor Sakwe George. And we do not celebrate only a milestone. We celebrate a journey of over 40 years. We celebrate a vibrant tapestry of cultures that link and bind us together. If you do not know where you are coming from, you certainly wouldn't know where you are going to. And at this moment, I invite us all to watch a 20-minute documentary telling us how far ASTI has come, its success story, and how far we hope to go. Advanced School of Translators and Interpreters documentary.
Adjointe chargée des études en janvier 1985. C'est vrai que nous avons été nommés en juin 1985, mais pour commencer les enseignements, il fallait que nous puissions mettre tout en place.
When I was at the presidency of the Republic, then the Secretary General was Joseph Owona. After a cabinet reshuffle, he was transferred to a new ministry that was created, State Control. So he took Pokolong James and myself there. From there, again, they created the Ministry of State Control and Public Service Emergency. We moved there and then took James and myself there also. From there, that new structure that I moved to Buea.
Now, I came to Buea University Center in 1989. I was appointed as Secretary General of the University Center. When I arrived, ASTI was already in operation. It actually started operating in 1985 under Professor Tanyi Ibuagbo as Director General, with Dr. Etienne Zeambela as Deputy Director General, and with one Madame Ago as Secretary General. Now, ASTI had one peculiarity. Admission into ASTI was by competitive exam, just as it is today.
Yes.
And the number was limited, very limited to 20.
Okay.
And there was one division, first division 1, which is that of translation. The intention was to train as many translators as possible to meet with the bilingual program of the government. Of course, division 2 was later added. Now, the problem was that the present site of the University of Buea was actually created for a full university. So the major problem with ASTI was that it was the buildings were, in fact, the infrastructure as a whole was very, very underutilized. 20 students for a hostel of 100 students. Now, 20 students for 5 amphitheaters, not to mention the classrooms. And then ASTI had a whole structure. It actually started in 1985 under Dr. Mofo. And later on, it evolved. But I want to say that ASTI was founded on a very, very solid foundation. Most of the teachers came from the National Assembly and from the Presidency of the Republic. So ASTI has tried and trained, even though 20 students a year, but you can guess from 1985 how many students have been trained. Now, with time, the University of Buea was created in 1993, and ASTI, of course, was affected by that change. Now, but the number continued to be 20 until after a lot of negotiations, the number was increased. But the competitive entrance exam remained. And what I would say I found as a bit of a concern was that after a certain time, government no longer recruited graduates from ASTI.
Funding of the Presidency of the Republic at that time. Because they didn't care whether they had a calling for teaching, apart from Dr. Mofo, the lone terminal degree holder. All the other teachers did not have any terminal degree.
Alors, how did your hierarchy at ASTI take your departure after only 5 years? Bah, écoutez, la hiérarchie n'était pas contente. Je me souviens que Madame Diom, à l'époque, qui était la vice-chancelière, m'a carrément dit, vous ne partirez pas. Quand je suis allé lui dire que voilà, je vais lui présenter ma démission pour des raisons personnelles, etc., elle m'a dit, il n'en est pas question. Vous ne pouvez pas partir d'ici parce que je ne peux pas vous remplacer. Et moi, ça m'a beaucoup amusé parce que personne n'est irremplaçable. Non, le boulot que vous avez commencé, vraiment, je ne vois pas comment je vais trouver quelqu'un pour vous remplacer. Ça signifiera la fermeture de l'université, etc., Malheureusement, il fallait que je parle. J'ai très bien compris ce dont il était question, ce de quoi elle parlait, mais moi, j'avais donné 5 ans de ma vie là-bas. Je pensais que l'école était déjà partie d'un bon pied sur de bons rails et que on n'avait plus besoin de moi. Enfin, qu'on n'avait plus besoin de moi, mais que je n'étais pas indispensable et que justement il fallait du sang nouveau et que d'autres personnes viennent également faire ce travail, quoi. Parce que j'avais des impératifs et je devais partir. Elle m'a carrément dit que je ne pouvais pas partir. Je dois le dire aujourd'hui, j'ai dû aller au niveau du ministère de l'Éducation plaider ma cause parce que la directrice, Madame Diom, qui était la chancelière, avait carrément dit non. J'ai donc rencontré des hauts responsables du ministère de l'Éducation, de l'enseignement supérieur à l'époque pour présenter ma cause en disant voilà la situation et en leur faisant comprendre que j'aurais pu être morte. Ils m'auraient remplacé. Pourtant, bon, ce n'était pas le cas, Dieu merci. Bon, mon cri a été entendu et ils m'ont laissé partir. J'ai quitté l'école à contre-cœur, mais il fallait que je parte.
Changes were many, but they were not insurmountable. First was the challenges of feeding. Madame Ijoma, Professor Mrs. Ijoma, who was the Director General, is a very meticulous person. And she ensured contractors who delivered the food, she was present, and we all had to be present for the reception of the food. So she was very, very concerned with the quality of the food that the 20 students ate. And so sometimes we were obliged to go and eat with the students so that we can also attest to the quality of the food. The second problem was that most of the lecturers had to come from their own area. And that posed a bit of a problem because some of them transport difficulties and so on. Some arrived late, some arrived a day or so after, and the timetable has always been revamped to suit our body. In spite of that, we went very well.
So the greatest challenge to the then Director General, Madam Diom, was that of staff who kept doing when
there was a thesis defense or end of year defense in our school. Professor Mrs. Njoma insisted on being there. And sometimes we all have to be with her, help us, coordinators. So whenever she's there, her questions usually scared some of the students. And when even her presence, when they saw her on the panel, you can see them wondering how they will do this. But as I said, we got used to that.
So the battery from the University Center moving to the university, they were trained, focused on practice on the field. The research component was really absent.
Most of the lecturers were trained translators and interpreters who were trained either in France or in Canada. So they were very well equipped. Now, the library resources was one of the challenges. But again, thanks to the foresight of Professor Mrs. Dorothy Njoma, she provided all this.
People kind of thought that ASTI depended on the presidency. And that was the mindset of the first batch of teachers. They didn't think they owed any allegiance to the Director General, so they kept depending on the presidency.
And even though I will tell you an anecdote, when in 1985, Professor Tanyi Mbwabo was sent to come and start ASTI, he was formed, and ironically, Professor Mrs. to replace him in the ministry while he came here. And when he was living here, Professor Mrs. Njoma was transferred to come and replace him. So
I started as an assistant lecturer. Then I obtained a terminal degree, rose to lecturer, rose to associate professor, and to full professor at the time I retired from ASTI.
With ASTI, we had several advantages. We were housed. I had a big house. I had a car. As Secretary General, I had free fuel. In those days, before we went on mission to Yaoundé, we had our mission warrant paid fully before we left Buea.
Enjoying all of you people to keep the flag flying. It is already flying there, but let it not calm down.
Now, today, ASTI has grown exponentially from 20 students with 2 programs, that is Division 1 and Division 2, to what it is today. And I want to congratulate the directors of ASTI. They have been very, very creative and innovative. They brought in, it was not easy to convince the government for ASTI to bring in the undergraduate and undergraduate programs. But today I want to say one thing, that thanks to ASTI, the University of Buea has gained international repute. ASTI has remained the flag bearer of the University of Buea. the government for finally giving ASTI a befitting structure.
That was quite a breathtaking presentation. ASTI at 40. Please, we need to acknowledge that this is a production of ASTI staff and students, and the credit goes equally to Translation Lab. And it is a privilege for us alive to witness this occasion with eminent persons like Prof. Su, here present, Prof. Kashim, here present, duly acknowledged. Ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, we've heard about the ups and downs, the challenges, the difficulties, the good days, the bad days, and the rainy ones that ASTI has had. But right now, we are going to talk about one individual, one lady, very perspicuous, a lady. I'm humbled to be the one to present her portfolio. She's had an academic detour at the University of Sorbonne Nouvelle. She's an interpreter, very seasoned at that, heading the division of interpreting of the Organization of Economic Cooperation and A, French B, and German C. She's involved as one time the chair for many languages of the Master's Program in Conference Interpreting at ESIT of Paris. She's equally involved in Master's in Conference Interpreting training of the Greater Paris region. She equally is heavily involved in the training of interpreters and translators in Africa. Please, let's all welcome Professor Clare Donovan from Paris.
Thank you very much. Can you see me and hear me? I'm assuming you can.
Sure we do.
Okay, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Vice Chancellor, Registrar, Deans, dear Director, dear Sebastian, dear Paul, dear colleagues and students. I'm honoured to be here in the framework of the 40th anniversary celebrations, the Ruby anniversary of ASTI. Some of you are at Buea University and many more of us are online, and I think this is a fine illustration of the international reach of ASTI. Actually, I'm speaking here to you from a booth in Lomé, Togo, where I'm currently organising a training course within the framework of a new conference interpreting master's programme in Togo, well, in West Africa, actually. Translation generally and interpreting more specifically contribute to a healthy communication ecosystem. If we have translation, it means that one language community is not obliged to bow or to submit to the other, but they can engage on an equal footing. So the scope of translation and interpreting reaches far beyond the linguistic realm. It extends to respect for each other's rights and specificities. It allows for cultural diversity, and also in a country like Cameroon, it creates political cohesion. And I'd just like to give one example of this, and that is the European Parliament in the EU, which actually has conducted plenary debates in the official languages of all the member countries. That's 24 languages. Could people switch off their mics, perhaps? Could everyone switch off their mic? Thank you. Okay. Which is creating 552 language combinations, 552. Now, the translation challenges of Cameroon, you might think, are on a smaller scale, at least in terms of the official languages, but much could be said about the amazing language diversity of Cameroon and the need for translation and interpreting in areas other than conference interpreting, court interpreting, public service and the like. And I know that ASTI also takes an interest in that. But the European Parliament's choice, I think, goes to illustrate how significant translation is for inter-community dialogue. I hardly need to say here that ASTI is a very prestigious school. ASTI has trained more than 200 interpreters over the years and more than 2,000 translators, and in so doing has contributed to understanding and dialogue in Cameroon, but also on the African continent and indeed worldwide. I worked for a very long time for ESIT, the École Supérieure des Interprètes et Traducteurs, which is part of the Sorbonne. Could people please switch off their microphones because I can't continue if they're talking? Thank you. Which is part of the Sorbonne Nouvelle in Paris. And ESIT is in a way a sister school to ASTI, in that a number of trainers at ASTI studied at ESIT, and many of them studied research at ESIT. Also, several visits were organized between ESIT and ASTI. I know that Marianne Lederer came to ASTI several times, Carla Dijon, and I myself was fortunate enough to visit ASTI 3 times. ESIT and ASTI found their teaching on the same principles, the idea that training should be done by professionals for professionals, but that there should also be a theoretical backbone so that you put in place the building blocks on the basis of a solid architecture. And perhaps most importantly, there's an emphasis on the interpretive capacity of the translator or interpreter who recreates meaning through understanding rather than repeating words and going from one word to the other. These principles actually have been adopted by other schools and programs, notably those founded on the African continent in this century. New programs have been set up for translation and conference interpreting in Accra, Maputo, San Luis, Senegal, and Nairobi, and also now in Lomé. And many of those programs are part of PAMCIT. PAMCIT's the Pan-African Masters Consortium for Interpreting and Translation, and ASTI is a cornerstone of PAMCIT and also home of Pan-African University Interpreting and Translation. ASTI existed, of course, well before PAMCIT was created in 2007, 2008. And the core curriculum of PAMCIT is very close to that of ASTI, which in turn drew inspiration from the practitioners and theoreticians of ESIT. I'm thinking of Danisa Seleskovic and Marianne Lederer, first and foremost. So ASTI is a foundational pillar of the PAMCIT consortium and is an example of successful professional training. In fact, ASTI has been a beacon of quality training for 4 decades now. ASTI has also branched out into research and doctoral studies, which is essential to consolidate training in an academic context. I was fortunate enough to attend a very exciting symposium that was held at ASTI last year, 2023 actually, by the Association for Translation Studies in Africa, and with keynote speakers of really global caliber, Paul Bandia and Mona Baker, to name but 2. So ASTI is celebrating its 40th anniversary. Well, 40 years is the age of maturity. ASTI is no longer a youth. It has grown in stature and wisdom, and it must confront the challenges ahead. And of course, everyone thinks of artificial intelligence when I say that. But actually, there have been many changes over the past 40 years. One major disruptive change was the advent of IT technology for all, which has transformed our work, both translators and interpreters. Certainly, in my field, interpreting, we have harnessed this technology to improve the quality of our output, becoming more precise and faster and keeping up with an ever more demanding environment. But IT generally helps students in their self-learning, notably in their language enhancement and class preparation or background knowledge. So what of artificial intelligence? Because I know everyone is waiting to hear about that. It's the single most significant question overshadowing everything else, I think. And generative AI tools help us to converse with applications and create an illusion of actually speaking to a human. It's currently possible to generate some kind of interpretation, either directly from speech or through the intermediary of a written translation. And neural network translation has transformed the written translation market in many areas. But still, demand for translations and translators and for interpreters has increased. So maybe AI doesn't spell the demise of human creativity, but it will require agility and ingenuity because we'll have to find some accommodation with the machine. And I know in interpreting, my students often ask me what I'm predicting, and no one has a crystal ball. I think we need to put things in perspective. We are already using AI to prepare our meetings, to draw up glossaries, to assist us in the booth, and also for practice and language enhancement. At the moment, virtual booth mates, as they're called, or computer-assisted interpretation, CAI applications, are being developed and tested. And what they can do is to show on the screen the numbers and the names, or provide translations for technical terms. And they do indeed seem to be quite useful in helping interpreters cope with the two banes of interpreters, which are speed and density, technical terms, figures, and names. I actually recently was fortunate enough to be able to take part in an experiment involving the use of a virtual booth mate, which provided this extra support. And I've also attended conferences at which such tools have been presented. It seems to me that we are able to use these tools without being overly taxed, without having too much cognitive overload. But the real danger is that we might become over-reliant on the machine input. So at the moment, the general mood amongst older interpreters, at least, is being very suspicious and anxious about AI tools. But the pendulum could easily swing to becoming overly trusting in the machines. I think what we need is a critical and constructive debate within our professions and with our students. It's very important that our students not be left to their own devices, forgive the pun, both literally and metaphorically, for they are all using AI already. Many of them don't realize they are. They're a bit like Mr. Jourdain, who spoke prose without knowing it in Molière's play. But many of the IT online applications that they use daily for glossaries or language learning or background reading are actually AI-driven. So we will need to incorporate a discussion about these tools and demonstrations of these tools into our curricula. I attended recently an Academy of Trainers that was organized by the European Commission Interpreting Service, which included demonstrations from a dozen training institutions based in Europe of how they integrate AI into the curriculum and into students' self-learning and support for their self-learning. And the conclusion was that it's very important to accompany the students and that these tools can give the students ultimately more autonomy. I would say if we want to maintain our role as human beings, we have to play on our strengths. And our strengths are our human specificities, what we do best as humans. What is that? Well, it is critical thinking, decision-making in a complex and sensitive situation, a deep understanding and intuition of the unspoken aspects of human communication, of intentionality. These are the skills that are taught in the best translation and interpreting schools, such as here at ASTI in Buea. These are the skills that have always been foregrounded by the interpretive theory of translation, which underpins our programs and which places not word lists, but the understanding of the human mind and indeed the emotions of the human heart at the center of the translation process. If we continue to play to our strengths, rather than mimic the machine, we will be able to harness artificial intelligence to make it work for us and with us. I am confident about the future. I would also say that theory, reflection about what it is we do and how we do it, and research, the endeavor to enrich the body of theory and deepen our understanding. So theory and research will help us to do this better. They will help us to keep our moral and intellectual compass. And seats of learning, in other words, universities like Buea, especially those that work closely with professional programs, as here, are ideal loci for this vital endeavor. A word of conclusion. I am confident about the future of our professions. We should not see the future as a river that is going to sweep us along. The future is a road. It's a road that we build together. And I'm proud to have helped perhaps lay some of the paving stones, however small, on the fine ASTI road. And I trust that the students I'm training today in Paris and in Africa, the students you are training here at ASTI, will continue to build a straight road for all of us to travel together. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you once again a very happy Ruby anniversary.
Makes machines, but machines do feel man. While hoping that Professor Clare Donovan comes back online, it is worthwhile mentioning that she's been practicing conference interpreting since 1982, and she's a member of the AIIC, the International Association of Conference Interpreters, since April 1986. Welcome back, Professor.
Thank you, Sebastian. At what point did you lose me? Because I finished my presentation, but I don't know at what point you lost me.
You were concluding, Professor.
I was just concluding. I'll just say my conclusion once again, okay, and that is that we must play to our strengths. As humans, we must not try to mimic the machine. I think I said that already. And our strengths are to use our minds and our hearts in intuitive understanding in sensitive situations. And I also said that we mustn't fear the future. I think we tend to see the future as a kind of river with rapids that sweeps us along and that we have no control. And that is not true. The future is not a river, it's a road, and it's a road that we build together. And I said that I'm very proud to have maybe laid a few very small paving stones on the ASTI road. And I hope very much that my current training, the students I'm training at the moment in Paris and elsewhere in the world, notably in Africa, and the students that you're training at the moment will continue to build a straight and strong road for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you for that spontaneous applause for Professor Donovan. Thank you very much, Professor, for that very enlightening and edifying intervention. We note from her that the stones that paved the road for ASTI, she hopes that more stones will be put on that pavement so that ASTI continues to grow. We are not in a river that is going to just sweep us away. We are on the road and we are going to walk that road. Translation and interpreting makes for better communication, for a better community, and for political cohesion, especially in a country like ours. AI is a biting question. Everyone is wondering if I can turn around and tap DeepL or put it on AI or put it there, wouldn't I have the translation? What is the need then for human translators? And she says that we are going to have to work together with AI. By AI, we are going to control the machine and not let the machine control us. We are going to work together, harness all these energies, and AI does not understand the cultural nuances, the deep communication of human persons. AI doesn't understand that, but we do. So together with the machines, we are going to make translation and interpreting what it is supposed to be. And it is on that note that we introduce and welcome one who was one of those 13 who started here at the University Center at the time it was a university center. He has so many qualities. If I were to enumerate them, we would stay here a long day. The quality I would like to highlight about him is his ability to give back to the community. He was one of the first, but in spite of his schedule as an international and national translator, he has always found time to come back and teach us. There are a lot of us here who are his students, and we are trying to do our best to give back what he gave us. It is a legacy he is building. In the director's speech, he said, if you speak to a man in a language he understands, you speak to his mind. You speak to a man in his language, you speak to his heart. So I talk to your heart, sir. Mengka na atamakra nundola, ulva fainting, tawa lewai na virtuala. Metimafu ayong neseva, tawa bumi segi, setangi seges, naga secinta na lema, ting dongak leyeng, ilema nandu kenaska. It is a cultural thing. We are pushing culture ahead. We are pushing our natural languages. And so, welcome to the rostrum, Mr. Diom Richard Ngong.
Why is it?
Your Excellency, VC of the University of Buea, Deputy Vice Chancellors, Registrar, and my dear students, I would like to say that it's a great privilege for me to stand here to talk about the evolution of translation in Cameroon, because I was there when ASTI said 1985. Been there all through the 40 years to today. So I have a very clear view of how the profession has evolved over the years. So my presentation will be titled Evolution of the Translation Profession and its Implications for translator training, especially in this era of artificial intelligence. I will look at the challenges and opportunities before In 1986, our training was harsh. I mean, harsh, because only professionals were training us, and there were no none of today. Internet tools that students used to, should I use the word, cheat in school? We had none of that. We had to translate everything ourselves. The only tool that we had as students, as translation tools, was the dictionary. And even today, using the dictionary, you have when you're using the dictionary. We're forced to know how to translate because you had nothing else to do but to translate. I tell you that for those of us, all of us who entered ASTI there, only 4 graduated. The rest could not make it. It was tough. It is the Minister of Higher Education who said that no, you cannot organize a competitive entrance exam for hundreds of students and you choose just a few and only 4 graduate. That is not normal. They organized another examination and again, only 7 passed. It's to tell you how harsh the training was. At that time, you had to write everything by hand. Give it to a secretary to type. And if they typed and missed something, they have to type all over. It's not like today where you can type and there was nothing like copy and paste. There was nothing like deleting. Nothing. You have to write everything. And before you submit your work, if there's a comma that's missing, you have to send it back. And it was like that, even during our early days as professionals. All translation work, even those at the presidency, prime minister's office, everybody had to translate by hand to a secretary. We had no printers. We had no computers. If they needed to print a document, they would type it on a stencil, not type it, they would cut a stencil and use the stencil to roll the material to have an extra copy. So it was very difficult. But at that time, we didn't feel any sense of deprivation because it was like that for everybody. The other computers did not exist. There was no internet. And because even there was no internet, we were also forced to know how to carry out research because research is one of those key things that you have as a good translator. We learned by force to go to the library, to look for works to read. So all those difficulties, they made us better in research. In the early 2000, computers was like heaven to translators. To be able to just type your work instead of writing by hand to give to a secretary, we're able to type, and when you make a mistake, you just delete it and type again. It was like heaven to us. And then there were printers, you can print your work. To us, we knew that we had arrived. So work was much faster, it was better, everything. So then, when the internet came, it was very expensive at that time. The minister used to come, send people to my office to come to get copies because I went to town saw a company that came and installed internet in my office. I was paying 150,000 a month for internet. Nobody understood what I was doing. They thought I was a mad person. But what that was doing to me in terms of work, you cannot imagine. Anyhow, it was not like it is today. Then come to today, where we have artificial intelligence, we have translation memories. It is helping translators in ways you cannot imagine. Now translators can do large volumes of work in a very short time. At that time, I remember my first interview that I went for an international job in Ethiopia. I told the people there that I could translate 8 pages per day. And they told me that it's not true, that it's not possible that somebody can translate 8 pages per day. But at that time, I had things that would help me to, they were not even 50 pages a day, because all you need to do, nobody again, you don't need to type anything, type any word, you don't need to type names, you don't need to prepare charts, tables or anything, you just copy and paste. You don't even need to translate anymore, the machine translates for you. So artificial intelligence has come and helped us. It has speeded up our work, make us to do really large volumes of work. Then artificial intelligence has not only made us to do large volumes of work, it has taken over the work. Translators are no longer called upon to translate documents. Translators now are called upon to work on documents. So, on documents that have been translated. There is a general fear among professionals, among students, that what is the use of training translators? What is the use of a translation school? The fact is, if the school doesn't evolve and adapt, if translators do not evolve and adapt, translation and translators will become obsolete. But this new era has also brought lots and lots of opportunities for translators. Now, for translation, implications for translation training. Because all translation is already automated, it is so fast, student translators, unlike us in the past, where you had to translate everything yourself. Students now, when you give a text in class to students, before you turn your back, everybody has gone to Google, DeepL, and any other software, and they have it. I see them looking very innocent. Then you call them to come to the board, they are rushing to the board with the translation. All of you know that if you have a muscle in your body that you don't exercise, what happens to the muscle? It atrophies, it becomes weak. It is the same thing with your intellectual skills. If you don't exercise them, they disappear, they grow weak. What is happening to students now is that students don't make the effort to take time and translate because it is very difficult. Most students have outsourced their effort to Google, DeepL, and all the software. If you give a student, most times you give a student yourself, you cannot translate. How do you pick out errors in the translation made by artificial intelligence if you don't know what is the right translation? So In this era of artificial intelligence, translators actually have a lot more work. But there is a specific skill that students must learn. If you don't learn that skill, you will be obsolete. And that skill is simply called post-editing. It's part of editing. It's like revision, but it's post-editing, which means you receive a document from a client. Very often they say, edit this document for us. There will be translation problems in it. There will be stylistic problems in it. If you don't know how to translate, how do you identify those translation problems? You can't. So in post-editing, I have identified 5 skills that each student, each professional must acquire. If not, you will be obsolete. And those 5 skills, AI, as of now, has not mastered them. If you master those skills, you will realize that your volume of work will increase as freelance or whatever. So the very first competence that translators need is the most obvious competence. And what is it? It's the ability to translate. Because if you don't know how to translate, just like if you don't know any profession, somebody comes and does anything and gives you, you will not know whether it's right or wrong. If you have not mastered translation, I mean really mastered translation, artificial intelligence translation will just give you the impression that sometimes it reads so nice that you just assume that it's good, while it is not. You need to master translation. That way you can identify the errors, you can identify the defects in the translation and cure those defects. That is the first competence, which is a foundational competence. It's not something we need to talk about because we are here to learn how to translate. I'm saying this insistently because students are avoiding translating by themselves. They want to use AI constantly, and it blocks their ability to work on their own. The second competence that you need to acquire is critical thinking. I think Professor Donovan mentioned it there. It's critical thinking. Translation should help, and translation training should not only help them, but force students to engage or to evaluate and adjust machine translation to ensure that the final product is natural, idiomatic, and coherent. Critical thinking also helps the post-editor, the translator and post-editor, to identify errors in the source text. Because not all source texts are written Shakespeare or whoever. Most source texts are written by specialists in their field, but who are not specialists in writing or in language. So very often, for those who have been working, you discover that source texts actually have problems. The AI translates what it sees. It does not go to analyze the source text to see that this was a problem here, there was a problem here. When you carry over, when they translate and give to you, if you have not developed the critical thinking skill, you just say that this is what was in the text, the machine has translated it correctly, and it's fine. Okay. It's okay. So the critical thinking is also part of it. Now let me just give you a very short example. There's this translation like something, il est riche, puissant, et naïf. And the machine translates to you that he is rich, he's powerful, and naive. It's perfect translation, it's linguistic translation, it's perfect. But with critical thinking, you will realize that there is a problem with that translation. When you say il est riche, il est puissant, il est naïf, you are placing all those three things at the same level. It's like all of them are desirable, all the three are desirable. Meanwhile, not all three are desirable, just two. So a good translator who has a critical mind will say that, will instead say, he will not say a naive, he will say he is rich, powerful, but naive. You see that there's a change there. So translation, post-editing sometimes goes beyond translation. Okay, because of time constraints, like I say, post-editing goes beyond just correcting translation. It helps to improve the flow of the text. In many cases, the editor is called upon to make stylistic changes that will make the text more fit for purpose. Then we'll go to another one, writing skills. Translators, all translators are authors. They are not the original authors, they are the derivative authors. Because the authorship derives from some other person's authorship. But they are authors nonetheless, because the person reading their text is reading only what they have translated. So what you need, all translators need to develop their writing skills. Then the last one is language proficiency, which is also one of those things that you should take for granted. All translators must develop mother tongue proficiency in their professional work. Most people, they are satisfied with functional proficiency that you can just speak and everybody will understand. That's okay. If you are driving, if any person driving between Yaoundé and Douala, you see on the road, saying more ici, and there is translated under 5 deaths here. You see that is somebody who doesn't have native proficiency in English. Something is in a series of noun, passive noun, abstract, a series of abstract nouns, and then it translate in English, just write to again in a series of abstract nouns. If you have native language proficiency, you will never write that type of nonsense. But it is there all along, 5 deaths here, meaningless. Meanwhile, in English, if you have native proficiency in English, you will say 5 died here. When you say 5 deaths here, what does that mean? Nothing. So these 5 are just some of the 5 areas that students in the School of Translation must develop. That are some of the competencies that you must develop. If you don't develop these competencies, you will become obsolete on the market tomorrow. So there is the market has changed drastically. I have worked all through as a freelance. I've worked as a freelance something like 35. But the first maybe 20 years, I was doing purely and editing. But for the past years, I can tell you that 60% of the work that I do today is post-editing. And sometimes I am not even editing a document that was translated. I'm editing a document that was written in English. And like I said before, documents are written in English not by language experts, but they're written by experts in their field, but they don't master drafting skills, they don't master language and a lot of things. Translators, if we master all of this, there is a very big opening for students and translators, because the editing profession, the volume of translation, machine translation has exploded, and all of that translation needs post-editing. Not only that one, there is even people are becoming more aware that their texts that they have written, their reports that they have written have to be presented in the right way. So once you master this field, you will be receiving work, both single language work to edit and machine translations to edit. And I tell you that the volume of work that I do now is more than the one that I did before. But translation, I do a lot less translation. So these are the opportunities that our students, not only our students, but ASTI as a whole has. Because ASTI should know now that it has the possibility to evolve, to train its students in a different way so that they can be operational in the market the moment they leave ASTI. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Diom. The translation profession has evolved over time, 4 decades today, and he's presented some challenges and some opportunities. Amongst them, we have revision and, of course, post-editing. Without much ado, dear professors, dear directors, dear students, dear members of staff, we're going to welcome the UB ASTI choir for a brief musical interlude, after which we're going to listen to the opening speech of our august guest, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Buea. ASTI choir, please. As a corrigendum, we are listening to Soul's Symphony, not ASTI choir. Thank you. Wow. Wow. Just wow. Interpreting hope. ASTI, beacon and light. Translating dreams into life. It would be a pity for those of us still alive to hear what transpired here today. Permit me usher in one personality. His presence at every UB event marks the caliber, the weight, the perspicacity of the event. He's always around with his état major to give that event the dignity, in Professor Sakwe's words, the pomp and pageantry it all deserves. Chancellor of the University of Buea, Professor Ores Ngomo, you have the floor, sir.
Well, thank you, Mr. Impresario. Actually, I am supposed to be here as head of this institution, of course, to bear witness to the achievements of this institution. ASTI transforming itself from an institution that it was to one of the establishments. It's true, it's an iconic establishment, and we do recognize that. I'm not a guest in the sense of that word guest. You know, I'm part and parcel of this organization. And so I take pleasure in being here. Dear Vice Chancellors, Madam the Registrar, well, she has stepped out. The Deans and Directors, let me specifically cite Mr. Director of ASTI, dear lecturers in their various grades and ranks, dear students, distinguished guests, guest speakers. I want to mention apparently the most prominent of our guest speakers of today, Mr. Richard Diom, I guess I hope that pronunciation is appropriate. Distinguished, well, ladies and gentlemen, but I cannot fail to mention, it will be quite an oddity, you know, if I fail to mention the monumental and shouting presence of Professor Su here, Professor Tala Kashim, and Professor Nola Lembo. You know, we take great delight, you know, that they found the time to be present here at ASTI. If you paid attention, and I guess everybody paid attention to the documentary, you would have noticed that two people featured prominently. I'm not saying that the others didn't, but the good thing is that they are here in flesh and blood, and that's Professor Su, who I had the pleasure to meet here. And in fact, I hope I am right. This huge edifice we see here is the materialization of his vision. Of course, if I say that, I'm not referring to the fact that it was private funds. It was public funds. But then is the materialization of a vision. And and the story is not so smooth there. He nearly ran into trouble for this huge edifice. You know, so but it's quite it's a story of the determination and vision and love for this university of one person and the entourage he must have worked with. So I want to thank him. I also want to pay special tribute to Professor Tala. You know, he talked of the good part. He never mentioned the cold at the time in Buea. I guess everybody was wowed at how much, at the fact that they were paid immediately they engaged on the trip. But he never mentioned is the stress of the time and the fact that roads were not as good as they are today. In fact, for some of us who grew in Buea, somebody talked about the origins, but they never ever mentioned that in the 80s, I mean, I was here before they constructed ASTI and all infrastructure that you people are talking about. And this whole area was banana plantation, including Buea University, including the same molecule, all banana plantation. And you needed a lot of courage on your own to stroll in the dark because it was like a rough path. And then a docketer, I think, they were those who constructed this campus. You know, and we were only seeing them as little children from the gate, from I wouldn't say main road, because, well, for reasons of courtesy and patriotism, let me call it that it was a road. But actually, it was a rough road going through at the time in the 70s, before the construction of this splendid university we find today. And so for me, it is both an honor and privilege to bear witness to the celebration of ASTI's Ruby Jubilee. And to address you this morning during the inauguration of the activities commemorating the Jubilee of this iconic establishment. Since its establishment in 1985, and I can't mention that enough, those who were at the beginning have elaborately told you their experiences and what they went through. Since its establishment as an inaugural academic unit of the then Buea University Center, which was opened in 1985, this school embarked on its journey with a modest framework that has been elaborately explained, consisting of a limited number of administrative and educational personnel and a small cohort of students. But nobody would have suspected that it would just be 20 students for all the huge infrastructure that was made available to them. But I guess all that pleasure and enjoyment is over. You know, those students today now have a huge number of students to contend with for the available space. But we thank government for permanently opening its doors and expanding the opportunities for education. So from those 20 students, today Buea University, it may interest Professor Su. No, they may all know the figures because they are permanently here. The school today is more than 30,000. You know, from an establishment of an institution that hosted just 20, today Buea University is proud to say that we have above 30,000 students and with a multiplicity of faculties. You know, so for that, we do not only thank PAMCIT, as the director cited, European Union and so on. We start from home by thanking the government, the Prime Minister, and the various ministers of education, started with national education before it was transformed to higher education, and of course the head of state, on whose instructions we have witnessed the expansion of this institution. So I said I should make a precision on that. ASTI, of course, has the important job of realizing the national vision of bilingualism, multiculturalism, and social cohesion. The institution has unwaveringly embraced this mission as evidenced by its inclusive admission policy that accommodates students from neighboring African nations, thereby promoting continental integration. And the director, in his speech, took time off to elaborate on this, the vision that motivated the creation or the expansion to other African countries, and the opportunity that was given to this institution to host PAUTRAIN. Now, after 4 decades, ASTI proudly boasts of a robust faculty and student body, along with a diverse array of academic programs. Notably, our flagship program, in collaboration with Pan-African University, underscores the institution's commitment to excellence in training translators, interpreters, and intercultural specialists for the African Union. Through this framework, ASTI has successfully trained distinguished professionals who are making significant contributions at both national and international levels. To fully appreciate ASTI's legacy, it is vital to reflect on the origins. And I guess the previous speakers had elaborately spoken about the origins. But throughout the Jubilee celebrations, the entire University of Buea community will engage in a thoughtful examination of the accomplishments and challenges that they have encountered over the past 40 years. And that's the whole purpose of this Ruby celebration. This reflective process would also serve to assess the progress made as a scholarly community. As we celebrate, it is essential to honor the vision articulated by the founding members, which has continually inspired this institution. Numerous narratives of those who were present here. And this Jubilee presents a valuable opportunity to acknowledge those who have made significant standing. We commemorate with the foundational purpose that underpins the establishment of the school. In the coming months, the university will host a variety of activities, including sporting events. Some of you might have been informed that the university games, which used to hold annually in one particular university, is now going to hold by zones. They have now been zoned. You know, for example, this year, the university games are going to hold in 4 zones. They have already held in Chang. They are going to hold next in Marwa, University of Marwa, and for Zone C, University of Buea. So we are going to host the university games from the 2nd of July to the 6th of July. We are also going to have cultural exhibitions during this celebration. outreach activity, outreach initiatives, and panel discussions. Of course, all the various activities that animate the celebration as this one. All these are meticulously organized as part of this significant Jubilee celebration. And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I am pleased to officially launch the activities of the Ruby Jubilee of the Advanced School of Translators and Interpreters of this university. Long live the Advanced School of Translators and Interpreters. Long live the University of Buea. Long live the Republic of Cameroon and its distinguished head of state, President Paule Kekeh. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, for those edifying words, acknowledging all who have worked to make ASTI what it is. Your presence, your simplicity, and your down-to-earth nature makes us happy. The university is robust, vibrant, and growing in heights, in leaps and bounds because of the father you are to all of us who are in the university. Thank you, sir. Without any much ado, there are a series of gifts acknowledging all worked one way or the other to bring us to this day and this year. So we're going on with that award of gift, recognizing all those who merit this gift.
Gentlemen, we have come to a very, very important section of this event that of trying to canonize. We've talked so much about what they have done to us, but it's important to highlight the fact that normally, if you appreciate somebody in the African context, you must always associate that with a gift. You know? So the many personalities here we have mentioned. And today we have the magnanimity of announcing to all of you on the importance that we attach to some individuals who have had to play an important role in our growth and development. And that, of course, we shall be celebrating here. I should better say canonizing here in ASTI on the occasion of this Ruby Jubilee. 3 persons. Of course, I will start with the, I mention the VC. Everybody knows that without his presence, he would not have been faring very well. He has created an enabling environment that has made studies, particularly here in ASTI, to be smooth. And then we've had the ability to think creatively because he encourages creativity. We'll also seize the opportunity to also canonize Prof. Su, who is an icon here. We've always had time to talk about him. The fact that even though he's on retirement, will be with us on the day you cease to breathe because he's indispensable. And of course, we'll also use this opportunity to canonize Mr. Diom. a pioneer student of this institution. Without much ado, we'll begin in the right order. This is okay. So we would invite the Vice Chancellor of the University of Buea to receive this gift, ASTI, as a stepchild of your creative policies that give us the ability for us to be able to well and bring the results that have been recounted today. Present this to use as a memorial of the great day. Thank you very much again. We cannot thank you much. Yes.
Well, please, you said without making any modification, I'd like to ask Vice Chancellor, of course, I want to thank you for that. I will also say that we are here because and of course, you who has ensured. Thank you very much. The picture is me. No, because you hadn't seen it before. It was the picture was facing me.
Thank you very much for updating the gift.
When we unveil, you read what is there.
Okay. Now the second one is actually Prof. Su. Prof. Su. We want to seize this opportunity to appreciate Prof. Su for his yes. ASTI management recognizes you for your strategic contribution towards infrastructural development and mentorship and capacity building, which have created an enabling and sustainable environment for growth and development in ASTI. What is it? There's always an attachment to things. It's very difficult for us to exhaust all what we think about a VC, so he will have to come again. In fact, we don't have, we don't know how we can adequately express our deep sense of gratitude for this fatherly, for your fatherly concern for ASTI particularly. So bring that, yes. This is one of our students that she decided to do a painting of the Vice Chancellor. You can see how excellent it is. I would think that well, thank you very much. You hand it over to the VC. Hand it over to the VC. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So
the picture with the management and the VC.
You didn't do anything.
No, there wasn't anything. I've told you.
Okay. Okay.
We'll now go for group photo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please, you do announce it now. The group photo.
All right. Thank you. the Vice Chancellor, all Deputy Vice Chancellors, the Registrar in absentia, distinguished professors and directors of establishments and schools. We are now moving to the next phase, which will be group photos to immortalize this event. So we'll kindly plead with all deans, directors, professors to move through this door where the banner of the anniversary is while we wait for the Vice Chancellor. Thank you. Students, you can use the back door and also help to capture and immortalize the event. Thank you all.